We all know that plot is central to any story. It's the what that ties together the who, when, where, why, and how of a tale. But sometimes it's difficult to know where to start, with writers oftentimes thinking that they need all of the components ready to go in order to start bringing their fingers to the keyboard. So I thought I'd try and reimagine the system. Hi, my name is Jess. I am the author of the epic fantasy trilogy, The Instruments of Fate, with Book 1, The Destined Road, already available, and Book 2, The Shattered Shores, coming this winter. And welcome back to another episode of Writer Makes Videos. So, as I was saying, the system of plot relies on all of these elements coming together in order to form a coherent story. But I thought I'd try to reimagine the system so it felt less daunting to need all of those components together in order to even begin outlining. And the way I did this was coming up with a system called the 5 Ps of plot. The 5 Ps of plot is a system that I came up with without trying to subvert the idea of plot, but rather really digging into the core of what these elements were and finding ways to make them more approachable and perhaps even just entry points into actually sitting down and starting to write your story without feeling overwhelmed by not having everything together.
Oh, excuse me. Pardon me.
Now, the 5 Ps of plot are people, place, purpose, pain, and prophecy. Now, I posted the 5 Ps of plot originally on my Instagram at jmtesta, so if you don't already follow me, you can check it out there. So now I'm just going to kind of read through them and then explain as I go to give a little more in depth than I could on the post. I titled it the 5 Ps of plot and how to use them, and so it's kind of a choose your own adventure. The idea of the 5 Ps is that they are entry points into the story. You need all of them eventually to create a cohesive plot, but with them, you can begin with any of them. And that was what I found to be more difficult with trying to parse out the who, what, when, where, why, and how of a story. It always felt like all of these components were so necessary, and when you had them all, you didn't necessarily know where to start and where to end. And if you didn't have one of them, it felt like you didn't have all of them. And so this is why I kind of utilize this system in my own writing, the 5 Ps of plot. And just it made more sense for me. So I was hoping maybe it would make more sense for other writers out there who perhaps didn't really know how best to go about plot. So here we go. In place. Place is determining where you want your story to be located, which might seem obvious. It can give you an idea of the immediate and continual surroundings, thus also unlocking story progression. And so I posed some questions. Is it a foreign land? What is the climate like? Is it a real life location? How do you feel in this area? And one of the things that I stress constantly, especially, just because I'm a visual learner and it's the best way that I can go about crafting a story, especially when you're making up a place entirely, if you're not basing it on a real life location. And even if you are and you've never been there, especially, I would say that's kind of the idea is place is a good place to start if you've never been to this location before. So again, one of the things that I was mentioning that I utilize a lot in my own writing is developing of a map. When utilizing a map, it's really easy to start orientating yourself into the location that you're in. You can see whether it's hilly or grassy, or if it's a mountain range, or if there's a river ahead, and you can kind of start parsing together all of the different aspects of what a location brings. The sights, the smells, the feeling, the weather. It all starts to expand very slowly as you're putting yourself into, not even your character's shoes, just standing in that location on your own and trying to imagine what this place would feel like to you. And from there, as you start walking the path of where you would imagine your characters going, it would bring more realness to the story. So place is used to answer the question, where is the story's stage? Next is people, and perhaps you're better acquainted with who your characters are. So I wrote, she's a knight, he's a prince, so maybe we're working with a medieval style story, finding objects or jobs that these characters are interacting with and branch that out further in how their worlds collide. So assuming that your characters don't immediately know each other, or even if they do, it's good to look at their surroundings like just as everyday people. And if you already are acquainted with your characters, you probably have a general idea of what their jobs are or just what a day in their life looks like. And then once you put yourself in their shoes, you can start looking around at what is around them, what they have access to, the kind of people that they would have access to, and starting to parse out bits of their like tangible life. And from there, you're able to even expand further into what are the politics of the region? What is their education like? What do they think of the world that they live in? And then you can tie back into place. So you don't need to start with place. You can definitely start with people. And that's, again, that's the whole point of this system is that even if you start with people, even the mundane things of like whether or not they're cleaning floors or they're a knight or a queen, like you will have a better understanding of what it is that they interact with on a daily basis, and then you can start building from there on what challenges might they be facing right now. So people is obviously used to answer the question, who is this story about? So the next one is purpose. And purpose is not actually related to this story at all. It's more, what is your purpose for wanting to write this story? And so sometimes the answer is I just wanted to write a story, and that's okay. But I think we should dig deeper because being a writer is all about exploring internal emotions and unsaid words and creating life onto a piece of paper. There's something that sparked the story in you. And that's what I wrote on my post. There's something that sparked the story in you. Find that spark, nurture it, ask it questions. What about that spark made this story come alive for you? Use those elements and jot them down, look them over. Where are they leading you? And it's really just kind of a self-reflective process in starting the story. And people might be like sitting here going, well, how does that help me write at all? If you don't know why you're writing, not what you're writing about, why you're writing, why are you as an author writing this story? Why did this idea spark in your mind? And from there, I think you can start feeling more for the story than perhaps you did when the spark first happened, when the line from a movie or a lyric in a song hit you and you're like, oh, I can definitely turn that into a whole story. Why? What are you trying to say with it? What do you want to feel at the end of putting all of these words to the page? If you're not certain yet and it's still, I just kind of want to write a story, don't let that discourage you at all. This is just a good place to be like, I'm having all of these visions of what this story means to me and what it could be. And using that, you can start writing elements of your story. You can go back to the original inspiration of what sparked this entire venture for you and start typing from there. It's an entry point. That's the whole idea. Purpose is used to answer the question, what is this story trying to say? And more so, what are you trying to say? The next one is pain. And this is both about physical and emotional pain that you're going to put your characters through, and also the pain points or points of contention in the overall story. I find that they are often connected. So, what I wrote was finding the issue at hand within the story can help you place each of the actors within it. Again, another entry point. You don't necessarily have to have the actors already there, but knowing what these points of contention are can often give you the idea of the kinds of people that are meant to tackle these sorts of situations. And like I write in my post, you've found the problem that needs solving. Now hire the right people to fix it. Well, you gotta write it, but you know, you will, but hire them in your story, write them and figure out who they are as you write. I continue. And how do you want the audience to react once you've solved or not solved the problem? How are your characters going to react to it? This one is obviously very character related, but it's also like maybe the spark of this story leading back into purpose. You felt a point of contention. You felt that a universal question hadn't yet been answered, or you wanted to answer a universal question in a new and different way. That is a pain point. So, pain is really used to answer the question of how do you want this story to feel, both to you, your characters, and to your readers. And the last but not least is prophecy. Similar to purpose, this part of the pillars is meant to address the purpose of the story itself at the point of resolution. So, as prophecy is a prediction, make a guess as to how your story will end. Do you want a victorious ending? Do you want a sad ending? A cliffhanger? Knowing your destination can help you work backwards to creating the overarching story itself, even if it's just an inkling. Prophecy, while it's just kind of a play with using word that begins with P, it started to feel a little more purposeful. Prophecy being the ultimate culmination, being the ending of the entire story, the outcome. And so I like this as another entry point into writing an overall plot because sometimes you have to work backwards in order to get to the starting point. You know that you want this heroic battle and the protagonist to come out victorious and saving the world. You know that that's the ending you want to write, but you have no idea where that begins, and that's okay. I feel like I kind of started in a similar vein with the Instruments of Fate. I knew I wanted a tale that felt similar to The Lord of the Rings in that big culmination of people who weren't totally certain about themselves finding victory at the end of a very hard and harrowing road. But I didn't know where to begin with any of that. So, knowing that that was my goal, it was easier than to start kind of going back into, well, why did all of this start in the first place? Why is there this harrowing task for them? What happened earlier, before their time, that led into this moment? And so that's another way that you can enter into actually writing the story and knowing what the story is about without having anything else, really. It's super vague. You have no characters, you have no place, you have nothing else. You just know what you want to see at the end of the road, and that is just as valid. There you have it. My 5 P's of plot. I had to look that up to make sure I didn't accidentally steal it from somebody, and it seems like it's completely something I made up in my head. So that's good, I guess. If this helped you in any way, please let me know down in the comments or connect with me on Instagram. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback and let me know whether or not this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for sticking around for another episode of Writer Makes Videos, and I will see you in the next one.